men want bad things, right? So like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men, it's over, right?
What a weird thing to say. She has been elected as the champion to change young men's viewpoints and to get young men to come back to the Democratic Party.
The reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? So like the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? So like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men, it's over, right? Like what are you talking about? Like a lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will like agree with that shit. I'm like, dude, what are you like? What is going on? Like there's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously, and
What the fuck? Are you off your meds? Like, are you off your fucking meds? Like, who is this guy?
it's just such a negative view to take on like half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys, and in that I realized like
So that right there is the problem. It's that if a guy went and said that and saying I love young women, I love sorority girls, like these people would be losing their mind. And the issue right there, and I wonder if she realizes this, that's actually the problem right there. It's these weird double social standards that don't need to exist. How old is she? I don't know how old she is at all. It doesn't really matter. But like what I'm saying is like just saying it that way is the issue. Let me go back. I'll listen to the rest of it.
even the ones that identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
Well, it's because we get tone policed, because you can make a joke about liking young women or liking young men, but a guy does that and he gets painted out as a creep. Connecting with young men? Gentlemen, if you are a really big Republican conservative, you are probably so happy right now. You are probably so... This is crazy. It's like they've basically announced that their strategy is to continue losing. This is unbelievable.
Olivia writes a Substack, which probably, statistically speaking, like 89% of y'all read already. But Olivia, I want you to talk about that Substack, and I also want you to talk...
So I keep seeing people talk about young men in the 2020 cycle, or in the 2024 cycle, and they keep saying, like, well, it's because, like, they're not getting laid enough, and they feel judged, and, you know, or alternatively, well, they're just racist and they hate women. So, like, it's really, I see these takes coming out from both sides.
Yep.
Of the party wing, I would say. And I just think that all of that is wrong. I think all of it is wrong. And so I wrote this.
It's not. Guys not being able to get girlfriends is a huge reason why they hate liberalism. Is because they feel like conservatism would create an apparatus that would make it easier for them to get a girlfriend. No. See, like, this is... So they don't even know what they're talking about.
Piece called The Politics of Getting Laid and Preachy Females. And I really dive into what I actually perceive it to be. And shocker, it's all economic anxiety. I think the Democrats have a really bad problem of...
She's right.
Every time we message to young men...
But it's not just that. It's the tone policing and the amount of things that, like, you're not allowed to say, and double standards. That's another really big factor.
We frame it in a way that is wrapped up in the same principles that we critique. We critique the patriarchy. We critique the way that men have higher hierarchy and power structures, and then we message to them as if not only is that the reality, but that they have to continue to be like that. So the example I use in the article is the issue of abortion. When we message to young men on abortion, or men in general, we do it from the position of, well, real men protect women. And if you care about the women in your life...
wait a minute. You use the real men thing? You're out. No, there's no real man. The only time that the only time I want to hear what a real man does is from a man that's been married for 50 years and has 7 kids. I'll listen to him. I don't want to hear for a fucking second from a 20 or 30-year-old woman what a real man is.
You should be pro-choice. And that might be true. That is true. But we don't come at it from the approach of this is the reality that young men face about that issue. Because it's entirely possible that a young woman in college gets pregnant unexpectedly, and that could upend her life if she doesn't have access to abortion care. But it's also
does she fucking get it?
Entirely true that the young guy who gets her pregnant, now he's on the hook to not only take care of this child that could be him, that could be coming into the world, but also to take care now of the mother of his child. And I think that it would be so much easier if we just understood.
He's not on the hook. This is the problem with their messaging. You shouldn't be on the hook to take care of the woman that you had sex with and have a kid with. You shouldn't be on the hook for that. You should have the opportunity to do that. The frame of reference of this is so fucking off. It's unbelievable. It's insane. How are these people so delusional? And she's getting... They need to give me $40 million. Actually, just give me 10. Just give me 10, and that's enough.
The problems we're having with young men shifting to the right, it's not because they don't agree with us on the policy. They do agree.
They do not agree with the policy. They agree with some of the policies, but not with others. This is not binary.
With us on the policy.
Also, the going back to the issue of men and abortion, the reason why some men are against abortion is because they view it as asymmetrical. Men cannot have a choice on whether they pay child support, but women can have a choice on whether they have a kid or not. Now, this is my viewpoint, right? Is that asymmetry is innate to the human experience and to being a man. But the asymmetry is the reason why so many people push back against it. It's that in a lot of these liberal positions, there is a conscious effort that basically women make to maintain privileges and obtain other opportunities that men traditionally have. So they want to maintain the privileges in society that they have while also taking over the advantages that men had. That's the problem.
Because they feel like
that's it.
We don't understand the struggles they're facing. The actual struggles, not the perceived struggles of the masculinity crisis or whatever it is, the actual struggle.
That's a real struggle. You don't know that because you're not a man. The fact is that there's a huge, insane, I think I'm gonna have to go through this whole thing because this is embarrassing. This is so pathetic. No, there is a massive fucking issue. And do you want to know why there's an issue? There's an issue because their dads are losers. That's the big issue. That's the big reason. And so their dads are losers, and their dads are not respectful or respectable or anything. And because of that, what happens is that men go to the internet and they find online dads like Andrew Tate or Jordan Peterson, and they try to get their morality from that because there are no positive masculine models in society. And even if you look at sitcoms and media, almost all forms of sitcoms and media portray, how many of you guys have seen this where there's a guy, it's like a sitcom, and the husband is stupid and the wife is smart? It's like every single one. It's exhausting. And so, like, yeah, where do you find this? It's every single. It's so fucking annoying to see this.
And instead, we just kind of want to blame them for all of our problems.
Right. I think there's a lot of that I just fully agree with. I mean, we just don't message to men, right? As like we don't message in a way that resonates to men. Like something that you kind of responded to that I've seen a lot is, well, the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost men. It's over.
Do you want to know the real reason why I watched this video? Is because I actually thought that he was creating a joke and he was being facetious, but I think he's being genuine about this. Because I thought to myself watching that clip, there's no way this person can genuinely be this delusional and this retarded. But no, I think this is actually what he is. It's not the way it seems like it is to me. Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't get his sense of humor, but it sure seems like he's being serious to me.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, a lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will like agree with that shit. I'm like, dude, what are you like? What is going on? Like, there's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously, and it's just such a negative view to take on like half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with
young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys.
Again, until you can stop tone policing guys making the same jokes about sorority girls, you will keep losing because that double standard is disgusting and annoying. I have no problem with her saying that, and I think it's totally all right, but I think it should be okay both ways. There's nothing wrong with her saying that.
I realize, like, even the ones that identify as conservative,
it's the dishonesty that's the problem.
They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who support a Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again,
tone deaf projection.
A lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
Because they're not talked to.
They're
right?
not.
And they're not welcome. That's true. Like there's a lot of times
the reason why
it's like being like masculine characteristics or seem like they're frowned upon and they're kind of welcomed and championed by the Republican Party. And like masculine characteristics are not characteristics that are intrinsically bad, right? And I think that some Democrats have presented it that way. Now, obviously not most Democrats, but it's like this perception that a lot of guys have had. In terms of issues, like...
It's because that's the case. Using foul language, being crass, roughhousing, being physical, at least a little bit, right? Obviously, there's a line to everything. Let's see here. Being direct, like getting loud, arguing, etc., being disagreeable. These are things that men are more generally able to do. And what I've noticed is that, like, think about how, for example, how much online spaces have changed because women have gotten involved in these spaces and they've wanted to have more rules for, like, voice chat and stuff like this. Guys want to have male spaces where they can be abrasive, they can be crass, they don't want to live in a sanitized world where they can't make a race joke. And I know you might say, well, is that really all it's about? It's about making racial jokes. Well, no, but it's a big part of it. It's a big part of it. And the reason why, and it goes back to, this is something that I think is a primordial thing, and I could be wrong about this, but this is just my take on it, is that I think a lot of guys, the reason why they do that and they banter with each other is a primal desire and a primal... not even desire, but a an inclination to test other men around them to see how these men will react to friction situations in order to test them as if they're worthy to like interact with or like to trust on like a battle or like in a fight, right? On instinct, right? Like it's like kind of like a test. Yeah, it's socially evolutionary. Yeah, I think so. And that's why I think guys banter with each other a lot and they say this stuff. It's a bro test? Yeah, exactly. And like, but I don't think women understand that in the same way. And I think a woman can understand it, but I don't think women do it in the same way because it's just not It's not the way people have evolved. It's not that deep. Okay, well, I think it is. I think it is. And the reason why I think it is because the same type, like, think about how many cultures that are completely independent of each other in ancient times had initiation rituals for men. I mean, this is very clearly a human behavior, right? So if you have so many of these points on a graph, you have to be able to draw at least a little bit of a line. And I'm not saying it's a one-to-one, but I think there is a correlation here.
Good messaging is messaging that resonates with people's actual anxieties and lived experience, right? And so, yeah, like the Whatever podcast can resonate with men that are like incels or like struggling with women, right? Because a girl was mean to them or whatever, and they're able to project upon like those women which come on.
See,
like,
this is what's funny is that the girl in this is actually much more grounded than this guy. I think this guy is caricaturing everything. It's embarrassing. It's not just incels that watch that podcast. I mean, I think some of them are, yeah, for sure. But that's not all there is to it.
He's
really
so patronizing. They're able to say, like, yeah,
so
all women are like this. I feel better about myself. But there's all these other things that resonate probably more, which is like, man, shit's expensive, right? Like, man, I don't feel supported, right? Like, I don't feel like there's anywhere for me to go, right? I feel like if something bad happens to me, no one's there to support me. That's the thing that a lot of men deal with, because men are a lot of times kind of put in the box of supporting other people, so no one's there to support themselves. And it's like, those are things that we can absolutely talk to. Actually, we could probably speak to better than the Republican Party.
Yeah, I think speaking to that is also understanding the mentality that they're coming from too. So another example is when you look at the polling of what are the issues.
Stoicism has been the resounding male philosophy in almost all cultures for about 2,000 years in one form or another. The solution to winning back men is not pussifying them and telling them that they need to go to therapy and everything like that. It is empowering them and giving them the tools to solve their problems. If you look at, like, I mean, again, how many ancient cultures come to the same conclusion with this? The reason why society, and again, this is going to go back to biology. A lot of women, I've noticed this, and how many of you guys have seen this happen, where you made yourself vulnerable to a woman and she didn't feel the same way about you after that? I think this is a very, very, very common phenomenon. Extremely common. Yeah, right? Every time? Yeah, and that's the thing, the ick and everything like that, instant turn off. Yeah, that's because women don't like men that do that. So don't listen to this kid say to do that, because women don't like that. I'm not saying never to be vulnerable around the girl, but I'm saying that that shouldn't be the goal. It shouldn't, the goal should not be to make the way that men approach these issues congruent with the way that women do. Do you want to be a woman? Yeah, men and women are different, and their roles in society are different. And again, like I've done this graph, this fucking BattleNet. Give me a minute. What is this here? I've done this graph before, but if you look at all of human nature, all of human history, right? This is the primal ages, and this right here is now. What do you think the odds are that we have evolved to overcome all of this? Oh, that's right. 0. Literally 0.
That are the most important to young men. One of the top issues consistently is immigration. If you actually talk to a young guy about how he feels about immigration, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about immigration. It's this idea of scarcity and competition of, if you're a young man in America, you are expected to go to college or go to a trade school, get a...
They absolutely care about competition, because the illegals are the ones that are competing for the jobs that a lot of young men are trying to get. They're the ones that are the most affected by it. low education and low income people are the ones that are the most affected by these things. What are you talking about?
Certification, get a degree. Then you're expected to get a high-paying job. And then once you get your high-paying job, you're expected to find your wife and to buy a house and to have kids and to do all of these things.
Yes.
And if you don't do that, then you're a failure.
That's right.
Because you are the man and you are the provider.
That's
and if
right.
you can't provide, then you're not actually a man. And so
That's true. That's true. Yep.
we set the Republicans specifically, they set this expectation and then they make it almost impossible for young men to actually do those things, whether it's through not raising minimum wage, whether it's through the price of tuition going up, all these different things. And so what ends up happening is you have these young guys who they're working every single day. They're working on oil rigs. They're working at Amazon warehouses.
Oh, that's a very big deal. What are we talking about? That's a huge difference. The guys that are roughnecks in an oil rig are knocking down 200 grand. Probably fucking more. Like, what do you mean? Yeah, like they're making crazy money on that. Working on an Amazon fulfillment center for $50K a year is not the same as working on a fucking oil rig. And also, I bet a lot of the guys that work on these oil rigs probably don't have a lot of problems with women because they're massively in shape. They're at peak performance of their entire life because that's what you have to be able to work at an oil rig. They're jacked
maybe
as
they
fuck.
work a
Yeah.
9-to-5 job. They're working every single day, and they're still not getting ahead. So then we force young men to make this decision of either you can blame yourself or you can blame others. And if you're a young guy...
Well, the problem is that, so here's the issue, is that men are incentivized and encouraged to blame themselves, whereas people of minority groups or different, like non-heteronormative sexualities and women are encouraged to blame society. And liberals support positions and platforms and systems that benefit those groups, but not men. So when you're a young man and you're having trouble making it, and then you see opportunities being provided for other people that are, let's say, gay or a woman, but you don't have those for yourself, how can you possibly expect to get a vote from that person? How can you possibly expect a person to vote for you if you have categorically and systematically denied them an opportunity based off of the consequences of their birth? Why would anybody vote for that? Really? Why are we watching this? I find this to be very interesting, and I have a lot of opinions about this.
Working 8 to 12 hours a day. If you're paying all your bills, you're doing everything you can, and you're still not getting ahead.
And the issue also is because I don't think that a lot of these people understand men's issues at all. They don't get them at all.
Do we expect them to think that they're the problem? They're doing everything that they've been told to do their entire life.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that kind of little nagging, insecure voice in the back of the head, that's where Republicans really push through that ideology and get to young men, is because then they can convince them, well, this is the person whose fault it is. It's not your fault that you can't get ahead in America. It's the immigrants who are coming here. It's their fault because they're taking your high-paying jobs.
Right.
Yep. That's it. They are. Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the issue. Yeah, hear no lies. Yeah, it's obvious.
Right. And this hits on something that's so true. It's not that people are intrinsically prejudiced against immigrants. I mean,
And
certainly
they're taking houses too. I think that's another factor as well.
some people are, but most people are not. The critical mass of Americans that say they care about immigration are not. It's
Wait,
that
what?
are intrinsically prejudiced. And this hits on something that's so true. It's not that people are intrinsically prejudiced against immigrants. I mean, certainly some people are, But most people are not. The critical mass of Americans that say
Well,
they
this
care.
is another thing that they shoot themselves in the foot with, because they constantly try to muddy the waters between illegal immigration and legal immigration. I think that the majority of people, like a super majority of people, are okay with legal migration and legal immigration at a limited scale, especially when it's done based off of skill sets and a person's ability to assimilate into the culture, right? Like, we're all pretty much fans of that. I mean, some people aren't, right? They might want an ethnocentric country, but I think that's a minority. But also the majority of people are consequently also completely against mass illegal migration. That's a huge that's the big issue. And these two things are very different.
About immigration or not. It's that Republicans have made immigration an economic issue. They made it an everything issue.
Well,
I mean,
it is. It's obviously an issue. Like, it 100% is.
they point to immigrants and they say, these are the people that are taking away your livelihood, the safety of your family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like, that's a lie. It's a vicious lie, but it's a lie that you can.
But why is it a lie? Is it ever explained why it's a lie? No, it's not.
Perhaps understand people believing if they have no other explanations offered to them. And I think there's something else about this that's really insightful. It's men are.
I don't understand the logic that people like this use, because I'm sure this guy would be one of the first people to accuse these companies of trying to save every dollar possible and being as exploitative as possible towards the labor force, and how bad these employers are, and probably criticize capitalism as like a meta thing. So like, how is it that you can have all of these viewpoints and think all of these negative things about capitalism and the way that business owners make decisions, but the idea that business owners will never make decisions to hire somebody who has less collateral and less negotiating and bargaining power in employment, this is unthinkable. How is it that you can come to the conclusion that these people are greedy and selfish in every single other regard, but they wouldn't be greedy and selfish in this one regard? It's complete logical jump. Like, that's it. And it's insane. But don't want slaves? Yes, exactly. They hate big companies. People hate getting taken advantage of? Yeah, I think so. Pay Americans the money they deserve, wages raised along with prices if inflation is defeated. Well, I don't know about it. I don't think it's that simple. But like, in general, do you guys see kind of what I'm saying here is like the dissonance with this? Is that like all of these corporations and all of these like business owners and these rich 1% people are evil and bad, and they'll do anything to take advantage of people. But somehow, like, the idea that they're taking advantage of illegal immigrants and, you know, people on H-1 visas, because also, like, if you're on a visa, think about it like this. If you're on a visa that's tied to your employment, your employer has more control and more leverage over you than they would have over a normal American citizen. Because now your status and your life is tied to your existence at this job, which means that naturally you will put up with more bullshit because you have more to lose if you lose the job. This is just common sense. I don't know why people can't see it that way.
Looking for an explanation about why things kind of suck in their lives, right? And so if you look at a lot of the content that men like watch, well, some of it's, you know, this right-wing content. A lot of it's like self-help stuff, right? Like, who's the most into self-help? It's
you need
men.
to stop being a simp. Fucking based Dr. K. Absolutely.
And what does the self-help say? It's your mind, it's your thought process that's the reason why things suck, right? And it's not that people are even always eager to blame someone else. They're just eager to have an explanation, a solution to the suffering they're facing in their lives.
I've had
well,
really...
the issue is that, and this is another problem, is that if somebody had said this about minorities or women or another form of what this person probably perceives as a disenfranchised group of people, they would say, oh no, these actually are structural reasons and there is a reason. So this is, again, another double standard of what's happening again.
Depth conversation a few weeks ago with some other content creators where I was talking about the messaging that the Democratic Party uses so often, and we talk about the diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI.
Oh, uh-oh.
And I think where we've kind of fallen into this trap is we have made the party exclusive by trying to make it inclusive. And what I mean...
She's right. Yeah, she's right.
What I mean by that is every room we walk into, the messaging that we're using is different. Every single one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's the wrong way to go about it. I think we should have one specific, like one, this is the message we use on this issue. Because people are going to interpret that message however they want to interpret it. Everyone has their own form of cultural competency. So, and I think what Trump in particular is they kind of just say the same thing over and over again.
He does.
And then if they ever change their opinion on it, they just say it with so much confidence that it's hard to convince people that that's not what they meant. So for us, I think it's just, we should just be saying the same thing about the same issue over and over and over again. And
she's right about that. That's what Bernie Sanders does, and it resonated really well with people. That's true.
Voters decide what it means through their own cultural lens instead of telling them specifically what we mean every single time.
Right.
Well, we don't need to make fun of her weight. I know a lot of people have, they want to make fun of. That's not the problem. I don't care about this. I mean, she's not on here normalizing being overweight or saying being fat is a good thing. Like, there's no reason to, I don't care about that.
The issue with pandering is it looks like you're pandering. You don't seem genuine whenever you're saying something different in two different rooms with different demographics in them. Even if you are being genuine, but sometimes it's just not, right? Like,
of course, you're changing your accent, like code switching. Yeah.
Kamala Harris's agenda for black men, I don't think that really went anywhere.
No.
Because it just seems so kind of contrived. It seems so
and this is the same thing. It's the same thing that Hillary Clinton did, where you'll have people on the right throw out these claims of well, what are you doing for this group? And we'll have these long-winded explanations with these details and these figures, and then we can go out and talk about it so we're blue in the face, but at that point the conversation's already moved on because they didn't actually care about the answer. They cared about how they felt about the answer. And so I feel like we just get into these specifics so frequently that frankly people just don't care about.
But we need simple ideas that you articulate all the time, right? So for instance, build more housing, right? And somebody says, well, how does that benefit this group? It's like, well, do you live in housing? There's some big economic issues that hit everybody. Affordability is one of the most central ones. And that's something that we should champion. And the good news is it helps everyone, right? It's not just good policy all the time, but it's also we don't need to have different messages for different groups, in large part because there isn't different policy solutions for different groups. Like, targeted policies are usually ones that are kind of watered down, right? They're kind of less, increasing funding for specific grant programs for certain races of businesses. I mean, that's great and all, and we've had that.
It's not great. It's racially based and it's bad. And you're never going to, for me, this is a single issue voter thing for me, is that I will never vote for a person that would disenfranchise me or deny me an opportunity or give another person an opportunity above me based off of the nature of my skin color or my ethnicity or anything about me, my gender, my sexuality. So if you support that, I will vote against you. One issue thing. Because why would I ever vote for somebody that actively wants to put me at a disadvantage? Period. They're not good. That's the whole reason why. And also, again, you know who really benefits from DEI policies? White women. That's who benefits from it. It's not even primarily minorities. It's white women.
For a long time, but that's not going to fix the big economic inequality and opportunity issues we have in this country. The only thing that can do that is dramatic investments, is a huge expansion of the social support system, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the kind of stuff that we should probably focus on talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You look at things like, the healthcare plan or, homeowners, first time loans up to this amount or this percentage. I need Democrats to start talking well, what's your healthcare policy? My healthcare policy is healthcare should be good and cheap.
Right. Because Trump does. He doesn't explain, like, I'm going to do price transparency, like a price statute, and I'm going to expand the premium tax credit, whatever. Like,
No.
Republicans never say the word tax credit. Why do we say the word tax credit all the time?
I think it's because, like, we're still operating in this, like, fallout of Reagan, Bill Clinton mentality.
Oh,
The
Jesus.
difference is that most Democrats don't have the charisma that Bill Clinton had. And so
That's true.
instead of
That's a
leaning on the
fact.
charisma, they lean on the details. And I just don't think it translates the same way. We just come off as a bunch of dorks. Like that's just the truth. We just come off as
No, it's not that. It's that you don't need the problem isn't that you're getting a tax credit for a loan. The problem is that you need a loan in the first place. That's the problem. You're addressing a symptom, but not the actual disease.
a bunch of dorks.
Right.
Nobody wants to listen to a dork.
I think voters like people they think are smart, but they don't like people that they don't understand, right? They want to feel like they understand what you're saying and it's smart, not just like, I don't understand what they're saying.
Let's go ahead and make sure that we understand one thing. If you can't communicate to people because you're not able to succinctly summarize your ideas, that doesn't make you smart, it makes you stupid. So this whole premise that the reason why we're losing is because we're so smart and we explain everything a lot and people are stupid and so they don't understand it, this is the most patronizing, annoying, obnoxious thing to say. That's not what happens at all. Like, yeah, maybe you're just bad at communicating.
Therefore, they're smart, right? And they also like simple solutions, right? Like we don't need to talk about each detail of each healthcare policy. We can just say, like you said, what we're going to do, right? And you can tell people the basic details about how you're going to do it. But you don't need to really get in the weeds. And you also don't need to talk about 20 things at once. I think that's part of the issue with the Democratic coalition. The Republican coalition is like, we want border security, tax cuts, whatever. There's like 5 things that they actually care about. And then there's minor things. And for the Democrats, it's like, well, we're really diverse, actually. We want a lot of different things. But we need to learn to prioritize because not every issue deserves to be brought into the spotlight just for any reason. Whenever you go to a door as a Democrat and you knock on the door to talk to a voter about the things that your party supports, they should already know what those things are. If they don't, that means that you're not doing a good job messaging. If you go to somebody and you ask them, what does Trump support? They're going to be able to list at least 2 things, probably. They can't list anything for Kamala Harris. $30,000 home buyer tax credit, whatever. No, there's 0% chance they can list anything because there's just so many ideas and they're all so contrived.
They can. It's about the no, that's not even true. So the issue is that like one of the most powerful and the strongest advertisements that Trump had was the Trump is for you and she is for he or them and they. So like the championing of these like weird social issues and like weird gender issues absolutely is something that the Democrat Party has taken total ownership of. And in the process of them taking total ownership of that issue, what they've ended up doing is they've alienated like hundreds of people. Like not maybe not hundreds, right? But like they've alienated like a huge percentage of people.
Well, no, that's not true. They'll say that she supports sex changes for transgender illegal aliens in prison.
Yeah, she's right.
A center of her platform, yes.
It was a central part of her
So
platform.
this is the problem: is that whenever you have a thing that's something like, for example, like like they caricaturize this, but let me give you guys. So this is a good frame of reference, and I think these things are really important to keep in mind. So whenever you're talking about, like, for example, let me think of a good way to explain this and like put this in the context. Give me a second. Let me just think. So let's say you find out that there's a person who's a flat earther. Would that taint your opinion of that person's opinions about everything? Because for me, it would. Like the moment that I heard that a person was a flat earther, I would immediately decide this person is no longer worth taking seriously at all. Like, this is a moron. This is a person who does not live in reality. So if you have positions like, for example, men should be able to compete in women's sports, it might only affect 5 people in the country. But the fact that you have that position is enough to alienate everyone, because it is so ridiculous, and it provides a frame of reference of your logical thought process that is totally incongruent with anybody else. And it shows that the way that you make decisions is irrational, stupid, and people don't like it. That's the reason why. So it actually is a huge component. It's a massive fucking component. And it's the same as flat earth or any other weird, dumb shit like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the same thing over and over again. It's kind of like, guys, what are we doing here? I think of it as America, or voters in general, when they're deciding who they want to vote for, they want a mom and they want a dad. Not to be homophobic, because there can be, same-sex parents here. But they want a mom and a dad. They want someone who, in times of uncertainty, can bring them comfort and can make them feel like there's someone there for them. And then they also want someone who's going to be stern, who's going to have their back, and who's going to say the tough things that need to be said. And I feel like we try to offer voters comfort, but instead of coming across as like mom or dad, we kind of come across as like
a nagging teacher
who you kind of don't like her, but she gets you really good Christmas presents. So like every once in a while you'll go visit. Like I feel like that's kind of how we come across as like, well, I don't really trust the Democrats and I don't really like them that much, but the Affordable Care Act was cool. And like that's kind of the extent of it. Is how people feel about us most of the time.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the family theory of partisan politics in the United States.
Guys, I think I might have just caught on to something here. I think that we might have just had a bit of a revelation. Gentlemen, it's not looking good. I'll tell you that. It's not looking good at all. Oh my fucking God. I'll link you guys the video. I think that they are so off base with a lot of these issues that I think they have huge, huge existential problems. And to be fair, I think this woman has a good amount of sense and she's brought up some good points. But the majority of things that she's saying and the issues that she's bringing up, she's, I think, invalidating a lot of the things, like, for example, immigration and the second-order effects of immigration and how these people are getting money from the government but citizens aren't, and the inherent unfairness of this. Honestly, like, I think that, I mean, she's like, I would say like 40% right, which is pretty good for them, right? I mean, I'd say that's pretty good. Give me a second. I'll be right back.